Bristol Motor Speedway, the site of this weekend's NASCAR action. And first up today, Monster Energy Cup Series practice. They are lined up in just a couple of minutes. They will take to the track. The last great Coliseum. Dave Burns with Kyle Petty joining you on the app this morning. Good morning. Hope you've had your coffee, your donuts, your what? Do you eat beets in the morning?
No, I've had my coffee.
Yep.
I have not had my donuts, and I've not had my yogurt, and I got up at 4:30 to ride my motorcycle up here just to be here at the Great Coliseum, to be on this app show with Dave Burns. I am so excited. I've been excited all week to be here. So at some point in time, I'm going to mute myself and go get me a yogurt. Okay?
So, hey, we tweeted out a photo of you in the helmet.
Yes.
So that is the actual helmet you ride with.
That's the helmet I ride with, and I retweeted yours and just said, Bristol's so wild, even the announcers wear helmets. That's the way it is, baby.
It can be that way, and we've seen that before. We expect nothing less tomorrow night when these cars take to the track for 500 laps. That sounds like an incredibly large number, Kyle. You've raced it before. What is 500 laps around this place like?
Yeah, it's not. When you're running good, it goes incredibly fast. When you're running bad, it may as well be 10,000 miles or 10,000 laps, I'm telling you. But it's so intense. We talked to Ryan Newman this week on NASCAR America on the Hall of Fame show, and he just talked about how intense this place was, how every lap you have to pay attention. You've got to be up on the wheel. You got to factor ahead. Am I low getting into this corner? Am I going to go high? What's it look like that's going on in front of me? And I think that's the part that never changes. If you talk to the guys that ran here 30 years ago to the guys that will run here tomorrow night, it's the intensity level of just running around this place. I wish we had audio of these guys after they run their first laps, because always these guys will go out and you see Jimmy Johnson here talking to Alan, but you hear these guys go out and they'll key the mic when they come in and they're like this. That was pretty good, because they hold their breath. It's like it knocks the breath out of them the first few times they run, and then everything slows down and you get in a rhythm, and it's a little bit it kind of falls into place.
The easing into opening practice, we see their neighbors talking across haulers, neighbors talking on pit road. McMurray on the right, Kenseth on the left. What could they be discussing? A lot of different things, actually. They're pretty good friends.
I think they're discussing their most recent bike rides.
It's very possible. I don't think, our producer, let's see, what is Mike Wells today? Director, producer, runner. He's doing everything, right?
Grand Poopah.
Grand Poopah.
All things to all people.
So he's suggesting things that he'd like me to repeat on the air. And I don't think Matt Kenseth would eat a Big Mac.
No.
But McMurray would know the recipe and where to get one.
Yes.
So
I'm not, it amazes me, my man McMurray, they talk about him riding that bike, how powerful he is, how really fast he is on a bike right off the bat. I used to watch those things where those guys would train and then stop at McDonald's and eat like 6 Big Macs because they burnt that many calories. You can tell my man McMurray there, he burns it off.
Exactly. Cars on the racetrack. The track is green. Let's see what they produce here. So the story all week has been once again about the racing surface and the preparation of it. The PJ1 track bite was applied. There was some rosin applied. There was some running done yesterday by the Xfinity Series. Then there was some feedback. And the track has now reapplied and readjusted. And I'm telling you, it's a moving target, Kyle. And these drivers are about to experience really nothing like what the Xfinity guys experienced yesterday.
No, it moves all week up here. As we see Chris Buescher getting up to speed here. But it does, because it's down and then you run it off, and we hear these guys talk about the Xfinity cars running off the truck. You see that car wiggle a little bit as he dips down into it and then just skates up down in 1 and 2. And sometimes it takes a couple of laps. These guys talk about it. It almost has to get heat in it seems like, before it really begins to grip. You see, he goes in it and misses it because the car just kind of skates up.
So a lot of what we're seeing today is going to be experimentation. What does my car do when I get down into the prepared area? And then up above it, it's fairly clean, and they're probably not even going to practice up there.
Yeah, they're going to race up there.
Yep.
I can tell you that. But Michael McDowell, now his car gets in a little bit. Look, but see, as they go to the gas, the tires are cold, the track's cold. No one's been out this morning. So it's just not got the grip in it. And that's a typical Bristol without, what'd you call this stuff?
PJ1.
PJ1 or sticky stuff. Without the sticky stuff, you're not. It's a typical Bristol and a typical concrete track where it just takes getting some more rubber on it and you getting used to the racetrack before it really comes in.
So here's my best understanding of what has occurred, and in the last couple of days after the truck race, they applied both a rosin, a powdery substance on the bottom, and the PJ1 over top that and further up the groove. Okay, that's what the Xfinity drivers ran in. That was not appealing to them, and it was balling up a little bit. Got some marbles out of that. And so the track this morning or last night or in the wee hours scraped a 4-foot section, 4-foot wide section where the compounds had been applied, and then laid just PJ1
And
track
then
light, the liquid.
Yeah.
Just the liquid, not the rosin.
Yeah, got it.
So now you've got about a 4-foot, let me see, there's some overlap here, about a 3-foot PJ1 only, about a 1-foot yesterday's PJ1 and rosin, and then another 3 feet of yesterday's PJ1.
So basically they primered it and painted it and didn't like how it looked, and then they ground that off, and then they just, instead of primer, they just put the paint back down, and they did some other stuff to make it look nice.
You used to hear this about the Navy, right? Sir, you want me to scrape that? Yes, sir. Okay. Sir, I scraped it. I want you to paint it. Yes, sir, I'll paint it. So then they paint it, and then they scrape it, and then they paint it. Yep.
But you know what? With the PJ1 stuff, last time it worked. They didn't have the rosin last time. Is that your understanding? I'm asking you, Burns. You're sitting right here beside of me.
Sorry, someone else is talking to me. Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
Yep.
I said with the PJ1 last time, they just applied that and not the rosin last time. Is that your understanding?
No, I think last year, there was rosin applied.
Oh!
Yeah. I don't know about the spring, though, because I was not here.
So is it the typical American way where more is better, so we're just going to put more this time?
Except for the scraping part. So they took off.
Is it more better?
I don't know. I don't know. How about different? Different dynamic appears to be better.
5th time the sticky stuff has been applied. 3rd time at Bristol. The last 2 times here, rosin, is that rosin, was involved?
You're reading something. I'm going to look on the left.
Rain was involved.
Oh.
Rain looks a lot like rosin when you're reading it across the room.
Reading his writing. We have a third member of our app crew in here, Jimmy Hicks from Racing Insights, providing some racing insights.
Racing Insights. If you guys are enjoying the app, please tweet me to let me know you're out there.
And then Kelly is helping us out with some info from down in the garage area. And you look on the left there, you see where the points are, the playoff standings, that is. You see there's some green, some kind of right there, and then some red. So the guys in the red are the ones who are looking to make Bristol happen for them. The 14 of Boyer, the 22 of Logano, both very good here.
Yes.
And with a chance to put themselves into the playoff with a victory.
Yeah, those 2 guys are really, really good here. But I'm going to throw in the next 2 guys, too, who could win races here. I mean, we have seen Eric Jones and Daniel Suarez. Daniel Suarez talks about this place like he's just in love with it. And very few drivers will you hear talk about that. As we see Jimmy Johnson, he's just waiting it out, waiting for the track to come in a little bit.
Castle like we are.
Yeah, just waiting for the track to come in a little bit because, like we talked earlier, and sometimes it takes a little while for Bristol to come in. But Eric Jones is another one who's coming off that huge momentum from last week at Michigan. Had a shot, he felt like it winning a race. And once you give a driver that little bit of a sniff of saying, okay, we could win this thing. We can compete. We can run up front and win a cup race. Then I think that's a big deal. So coming into this for him, I think is a big race. So I look at all 4 of those guys that are out right now that they could potentially do something.
5 cars have taken to the track. This is a 85-minute practice session. And Landon Castle is one of those 5. DiBenedetto has been on the track. Buescher, Corey LaJoie, and Michael McDowell. And, you know, Kyle, we talk about the product being applied to the track, but, of course, the cars going around and shedding off some of the Goodyear rubber into the groove, that will change things as well. And if I'm Jimmy Johnson, I'm just waiting to see what the consistent factor is here before I go out.
Yeah, you just want to see somebody go out and run 3 or 4 laps and be consistent. You want to see somebody go out and bust off a fast lap, something that is truly worthy of qualifying, something that's truly worthy of doing something. Right now, these guys are putting down laps, but they're just all over the board. If they get in the corner, good. They miss. And maybe Chad has told Jimmy, okay, now's the time. I see something I like. So as we see Jimmy come down. But I think you just want to see these guys get into a rhythm out there on the racetrack and know that it's come in.
Watch this. How good is he? I mean, these fans, they love him. He loves the fans, but he's got to get to his race car, and he's trying so hard to be accommodating.
Yeah. He stops for this little boy, which is very, very nice. That is cool. He took that little boy's card and he stopped for him. But I'm telling you, and I don't think race fans watching this, and we hear this a lot of times with. This is like somebody walking into your place of business or your place of work and saying, hey, stop what you're doing. I need you to sign this picture, or I need you to do it. And I know that's part of the game and part of it. But these guys get an hour and a half of practice this morning. Do it before practice. Do it after practice. Try to find them then. But when this is going on the racetrack, it's concentration time.
I don't know how they do it. I don't know how you did it for years. Matt DiBenedetto does it as well as any in the 32. He's got a lot of fans and always tries to give them what they're wanting, which is just a moment with their heroes. And here comes DiBenedetto on track. Second quickest time right now. And getting used to what is in the bottom groove. Notice that they haven't applied up high. We talked about that coming in for the race, but trying to make options for the drivers this weekend, just like every other place that they've applied product.
All right, here's one of the first really contenders and cars that we've seen go out. Not that these other guys won't be there, because we've seen DiBenedetto and some of these guys have some really solid finishes up here. But here's a guy who's won races and has run here. Pretty decent first lap.
Rolling with Joey Logano here. Here's some night racing from 2014.
Yeah.
And Joey's win there. And this is the following year, so 2 in a row. And then he gave him a break last year. Joey'd like to get back in that victory lane, though.
Yeah, definitely like to get back in victory lane. And I wish we had a little bit more of that footage so you could see what the race groove is compared to what the practice groove is. Because that race groove for Joey, he would go in on the bottom of the racetrack, drift up in the middle, and almost diamond. Right here, he would go up, cut left, and come back across the racetrack and run a straight line up off the corner. So the race groove moves around, and I think that's, as you talk about putting down the rosin and the stuff on the racetrack, and the bottom part looking like asphalt, and the top part looking like concrete, it's so in your face right here, the difference between the bottom groove and the top groove. But as the race wears on, you will see the top of the racetrack darken a little bit. Never as much as we're going to see this bottom darken.
Denny Hamlin, a new dad this week.
Good lap.
And a good lap, but maybe it's worth a 10th.
Yeah.
Another daughter for Jordan and Denny. Kind of cool.
Yes, he does. Denny's gone out and right off the bat is a good 2/10 faster than Joey or basically anybody that has been out to that point. And that's what I said. I mean, talking about Landon Castle or DiBenedetto and those guys were good laps, but Hamlin bust that 15 barrier to 14.98. Good lap for him. And you see, he's run 2 or 3 laps. He run a 15.17, 01, 14.95 or 98, and then a 15.04. That's what these other guys are looking for. Somebody who goes out and can put together lap after lap, and then you say, okay, the track's pretty consistent. Now it's time for me to go out. We start to see Matt Kenseth and these other guys start to go out. Blaney's out there.
Kenseth in 3 and 4 had 2 above the compound, and is going to kind of put it there again. He's running just a little higher maybe than Denny was. Not much. See what kind of numbers Matt puts up. 4th quick on his 5th lap, and that quickly gets shut down as others take the track. Here's Chase Elliott warming up, getting a feel for it there. That was his first feel right there. Putting the power down and not quite up to speed, and having that little wiggle feel in the car.
Yeah, and let me tell you, if you can see it on TV, it's not a little wiggle. It's a big wiggle.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, from that far away, from the camera angle being this far away, when you see this, and this is why we talk about it a lot of times when you hear Dale Jarrett or Jeff Burton or Steve Letarte or you guys in the booth, when you say, oh, that's a wiggle, that's huge. That's huge, because if you see it, these guys talk about being on edge all the time, and we never see anything. But when you do see it, that just hurt Jimmy's lap right there coming up off the corner. Everybody's just trying to stay down in this lower groove right now.
That was Dale Jr. warming up on the low line. You couldn't see him because that's a camouflage paint scheme, so we'll pick up on that.
That was Dale Jr.?
So.
No way.
I think maybe. Look a little further back. Johnson now rotating well. And up on his quick lap, Eric Jones to the top.
Told you that Eric Jones had some momentum.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Eric Jones, for making me look good on what I said a minute ago.
Right here on the
Just keep it going all weekend, man.
So Johnson working his way up the board, third quick of the 26 that have run so far. And here's Jones.
And Eric's run 8 or 10 laps. Once he started, he basically put in a 10-lap run when we see that. He's the first guy to put a 10-lap run in. So obviously, right off the bat, in race mode, he went out, felt like his car was pretty comfortable, and put down those 10 laps, and then this team will adjust from there.
So Jimmy staying on the track, completing the sixth lap of his run right now.
Yeah, we've seen 5 or 6 guys, 10 guys or more run 5 laps for a 5-lap consecutive average. But Eric Jones is the first guy to run the 10 laps. Daniel's car looks good.
And Ryan Newman is with us on NASCAR America Wednesday evening from the hall.
Good talk. It was interesting to talk to him. It's so many times he's had to point his way into the playoffs, and having that win early on has changed the way he's looked at it. Changed what they've been able to do. Changed the way they've looked at headed into the playoffs. And I think it'll change the way that they race the playoffs, according to him. It's a different game with these playoff points, with the way things are and how that's going to play out. And I think he's anxious to see how that works. But he knows that team, he and Austin Dillon, still are in that situation where they need to run up front. They need to lead some races. And they need to be in position to do that when the playoffs come.
Second place finisher last week with an incredibly good car again, but outdueled in the final restart by Kyle Larson. Here's Martin Truex. And that was a duel. That was fun at the end of last week.
It was crazy. And to hear Kyle Larson to describe it was even, Kyle said he pushes Martin Truex and he looks in the mirror and he sees Matt Kenseth make a move. Matt Kenseth, remember, started second on the inside line. And he said when he saw Matt Kenseth make a move, he thought, oh my gosh, we're going to be 4 wide going into turn 1. But Eric Jones had to be on defense and block Matt Kenseth, which opened up that inside line for Kyle.
So Truex, 5th quick after 7 laps. Here's last week's winner. Different little paint scheme for him this week. A lot of love right there.
A lot of love. Denny Hamlin should be driving that car this week. Maybe he brought Denny a gift.
It's a different kind of hug, actually.
Okay, sorry.
This is for the baby, El Nino. And look at that. These are the movers, Kyle. These are the ones when your little crawler starts getting on the move. This is when you need the Huggies movers.
Okay, got it. Sorry.
All over the house now.
Listen, I don't. Obviously, I know nothing.
No, I'm far removed from that as well. Our little girl is 12 now, so she's a long way from Huggies.
I've moved on to the Depends.
Well put. Always fast at Bristol, looking for a triple. The only driver ever to sweep all 3 since they went to the National Series and 3 National Series in 1995. Kyle Busch did it in 2010. Truck Series win, Xfinity win, and then the Cup win. He's trying to do it this weekend.
Yeah, it's funny. I was listening to Sirius Radio this morning on the way in. And for him to have dominated as much as he's dominated here, the last 4 or 5 races, they were talking about how bad luck he had here. That he qualified in the top 10 every time, had a top 10 finish, but had 3 or 4 or 5 finishes of 26, 27, 28, 4 of the last 5 DNFs and accidents and stuff. So, yes, He has dominated, but when you start looking at this place and looking at 4 or 5 races, that's almost ancient history because there's another group that's moved in. I'm not talking about this car on the racetrack because I really can't see it. I know there's somebody out there right now.
It's the famous Dale Jr. A lot of nice things done for him as he enters his final season in the Cup Series. This weekend they announced both a little monument outside for Junior, as well as a scholarship for a Sullivan County high school student from right here in the area, whoever that might be that's interested in pursuing automotive technology. Junior seemed really tickled with that.
That is really cool because I think that is a big part of who Dale Jr. is passing the sport along, moving the sport forward, and helping kids and helping people that way. And I think that's a big deal. I want to know if it's got Ducks Unlimited on the side of that thing. Remember that? What's the Mountain Dew commercial with the duck collars?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The Dale call.
Yeah, the Dale call.
Yeah.
If everybody, that would be cool, man. That's what Ducks Unlimited should have done. Give everybody a Dale call.
100,000 of those in
why not? Why not? Just on lap 88, everybody get on your Dale call.
You know what, though? It's funny you say that because he's among other drivers who have said you can hear the fans here.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. I mean, you wouldn't think so with all the volume of the engines and in such an enclosed area, but in the same way, the fans respond and you can hear just as well behind the wheel.
All right, now we see Joey has already been out there and got some laps on his tires, but you see the one of Jamie McMurray really be able to roll on him through the center and come up off the corner. Joey's going to try to get out of the way right here, and I think he slowed up Trevor a little bit. But Jamie's car looks pretty good the way it rotates in the center, and he really got a good run up off of 2 a couple of laps ago.
Jamie had an initial run out there, and Kelly told us one of the reasons he came back into the garage area was to work on a vision thing. He talked about needing to be able to see out of the corner of that window.
Yeah.
I'm assuming he's talking about the one to his left. When you look to the apex of the corner.
Here's the thing. Okay, you sit in a car, you jack it up on the right side until it feels like it's going to turn over, and then try to look out the window. You're not looking straight out the window. You're looking in the corner of the windshield. So if you have any tape on the top part of that windshield, anything to obstruct your view in the top left corner of that windshield, then it's going to bother you. And you know, it is funny that, and we talk about it a lot, and we do as drivers, as ex-drivers, is making that driver comfortable, having that driver feel like he can see everything, he hears everything. There's nothing worse than a stuck radio button to aggravate a driver. It's not doing anything, it's not hindering you, but it's that static in your ear that keeps you from focusing and concentrating.
Shut up.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what Jamie's saying is, I need to see out of this because it's just bothering me.
So many things they do at top speed and on the edge of adhesion. You don't need the little distractions. Here's Austin Dillon, who was doing nothing but listening to the hum of the motor at Charlotte as he made a economy run at the end of the 600 this year to go to victory lane and to get himself into the playoffs. Certainly another one looking for a good weekend at Bristol. 16th for Austin after 12 laps on the track. And there's Paul Menard, recently announced, moving on to the Wood Brothers next year. And hoping to finish out strong for Richard Childress Racing, which has been a good home for him. Wood Brothers, he should be encouraged, currently on the top of the board with Ryan Blaney. Fastest in opening practice for the Cup Series. Glad you could join us here on the app. Dave Burns along with Kyle Petty, a host of 10s, helping us out to put this on the app this morning.
For sure.
Including
For sure.
Kelly's texts are rolling in fast and furious now.
Shout out to a longtime listener, first-time caller Jeff Burton. He is watching right now. He just texted.
He can hear us?
Yeah, he can hear us, so that's good.
Jeff,
shout out.
glad to have you aboard. Jeff, stop by the trailer here. We can put you on the air for a bit. When Kyle goes for yogurt.
Yes, when I go for yogurt.
Right? Yeah. Kyle has plans in this 85-minute session to leave for a little breakfast. Don't blame him.
Oh, I'm already feeling better. It's 85 minutes. I thought it was 90.
No, I told you -5. You get 5 minutes grace.
Oh.
Yeah. And we're not going to keep talking for that last 5 minutes.
Okay, we're watching Hamlin, and we just get information. Hamlin had set the qualifying record here to 14:57, which is, 3 or 4 tenths slower than what they're out there running right now, than what Hamlin's last lap was, as a matter of fact. They're close, though, man.
Yep.
Blaney with a 1488. I mean, most of these guys are in their race mode right now. When we see this, we've seen these guys go out and run 5 laps and go 10 laps, so they're in race configuration. They've not gone to the qualifying stuff. So it'll be interesting to see when we do go to qualifying what condition the track is in and where we're at. This is the one thing is what we've seen watching this so far, and we didn't have this in the past when you just had one lap qualifying. These guys are fastest lap is on their 4th or 5th lap. They're going out on their 4th, 5th, 6th lap. Seems to be their fastest lap. When we used to have 1-2 lap qualifying, you didn't get to that 4th or 5th lap. Obviously, you were doing the best you could just to hang on and put down a lap sometimes. So these guys will have that opportunity to run 3 or 4 laps, 4 or 5 laps when they go to that qualifying in the first round of qualifying.
So how about a moment of racing peace? How about motors, engine sounds only, KP?
Okay, that's good with me. I'll go get yogurt.
It's a beautiful sound. The roar in the Coliseum. So as Kurt Busch continues on this run, we look back to Chase Elliott. A lot going on the networks of NBC today. This is the opening practice for the Monster Energy Cup Series. Then at 12:30, the final practice will be on NBCSN. All this will be on NBCSN the rest of the day. Xfinity Series qualifying at 3:30, and then you see NASCAR America qualifying for the Cup cars, and then racing from Bristol tonight. Fun day.
It is a fun day.
Busy day.
It's a busy day, and it's a busy day for all these guys. And the Xfinity guys come in early. They do all their stuff, and they're still here tonight at 9:30, 10 o'clock. It's 12, 16-hour days for these guys, and good 10 or 12-hour days for the Cup guys, and tomorrow's the same thing. And Burton said he is not stopping by, so just heads up.
So I don't know what we're going to do for your yogurt break then.
I know. Now I'm in a bind.
Jimmy's here giving us information. We can put him, see what his voice sounds like. He's one of those guys that you don't hear a lot from, but his information flows into the broadcast on a regular basis, for which we're very grateful. You're laughing as you're reading your text again.
Yeah. Yep. Latart just texted, said he's not coming by either. He's not coming by either, just for fun.
So I'm thinking, let's just check off the boxes here. Stavist is text only. Snyder's out. I haven't seen him.
Yes.
No Latart, no Burton. Otto Bolden is running around literally.
Yes, we need to get Otto. Otto could come in and help us.
We could find Otto. I've seen him this morning. He's had his coffee and yogurt.
Casey
Kane. Man, oh man. What irony in sport. Wins the biggest race. Could have been the biggest race of his career, really. It was the Brickyard 400. And then plans that were already rolling in place that he's not in this car next year.
That's the strange thing about this sport is Kyle Busch back out on the racetrack. Ryan Newman gets let go from Stewart-Haas Racing and goes to Indy and wins. I mean, it's like, that's the deal. So I think next year we're going to see a lot of drivers lined up and say, please don't invite me back next year so I can win Indy. That guy, and Kyle didn't hardly made a lap, it looked like that time. Oh.
And that is Kyle Larson getting out of shape. Cowl flaps up and open.
Wow.
Hope he saved it out.
Did he not hit anything?
That's what I'm wondering.
That's spectacular if you can spin at Bristol and not hit anything.
Wait and see if we got to look at it. That happened down the front straightaway, and now he's rolling down the apron of the backstretch.
Wow.
Crew very curious.
Used to be an announcer named Ray Melton, who was a track announcer at Richmond and Darlington, and anytime somebody would spin.
How would Ray call this?
This man just bought himself a brand new set of Goodyear Racing Eagles. Man, he just it must have got loose. We saw it already in progress right there. So it must have just stepped out coming out of turn 4 and just a slow spin, because I wonder if he was even up to speed or had just gotten up to speed through 3 and 4 when it come around on him. Because most of the time we see guys as they come up off turn 4, if the thing gets out from under them, will slide and slide down into the inside wall.
So, obviously very carefully crawling around.
Yeah.
So Kyle, Kelly's reporting, listening on the radio, Kyle is asking, did we make a really big change there? And the response was, no, not really, just a little track bar. And they're all agreeing that was weird. No question about it. And that gets you sometimes, right? There's not much done to the race car, but you head back out on the track and something is different, and it gets out from under you.
Yeah, and especially this place. I wish we had Letarte or a crew chief in here to talk about it. Sometimes you make a small change, and you think it's a small change, but how the car reacts to it, it's a big change. It's a big change, whether it's a track bar, whether it's a spring, whether it's a shock, the way they used to change stuff, an air pressure at a place like this. The driver, what it feeds the driver and what it tells the driver that the car is doing can sometimes be exaggerated. Because everything happens so fast and is so powerful. You just drive off down in these corners, slam it into the bank, stand in the gas, drive it up off. It's a pretty physical place.
Speaking of happening fast, business is picking up. Saw those cars leaving pit road, wanting to get back out onto a clean racetrack. Well, they just all clogged it up with an hour left in the opening practice.
And that is the hard thing about, it's hard as we watch Kevin Harvick and Clint Boyer here. It's hard to make a lap and when you're out there running and you're doing your job, and then somebody comes out and it's like, how do I get up and make my lap? How am I, without getting in somebody's way? Because it seems like you're trying to jump in the middle of a freight train.
On the left, Clint Boyer. On the right, Kevin Harvick. Boyer very good here and needing that win. He's the first man out. He is just 31 points below the cut line, is Boyer.
This car looked good through 1 and 2 right there. Really turned good.
He talked this week about being the hunter, not the hunted. And that's a position you'd like to be in, right?
Yeah,
Not that position.
Not that position. I don't know. We get that all the time, and you hear drivers, would you rather be leading or trying to track down the leader? I want to be leading, and I want to be pulling away while I'm leading. I don't want anybody tracking me down. But when you're that guy that at least you know what the target is when you're trying to track something down, and I think that's what Clint is saying now. He's hunting, so he knows what his goal is.
Junior back on track. We were talking earlier about what they've done for him here this weekend. There's now a photo op outside the speedway for fans to walk up and have their picture taken, or if you're from the South, have your picture made.
Picture made.
Next to it, a big monument that says, "It's Bristol, baby." It's really cool.
Saw that when I rode by this morning.
Yep.
That is pretty cool.
Did you stop?
No, I did not stop. I knew it was Bristol. I didn't have to see a sign to know it was Bristol.
2004, big weekend for Dale Jr. He won the Xfinity race the night before and then came back and did this on Saturday night. And he's trying to repeat that feat this weekend. He'll be in the Xfinity race later today, driving the purple number 88 of Goody's sponsorship. And his first Xfinity race of the season. And then, of course, tomorrow night racing this car.
His car looks pretty good. It doesn't seem to have a lot of speed in it right now. As I look at the time chart, he seems to be 2 or 3 tenths off. But his car seems to be okay. Little free getting in. You see him kind of turn down and then kind of chase it up a little bit. You're saying, wait a minute. You're saying he came up with that phrase.
Well, I look at it this way. I say he chiseled into the NASCAR lexicon the phrase,
okay,
"It's Bristol, baby." That's okay. How I'm putting it, because I'm sure he wasn't.
What has he not chiseled into the NASCAR lexicon? Let's just go there.
I like that, yeah. But this one now is in monument form as well.
Yes, it is.
So, yeah. Well, and that was, of course, it was a question, I believe, from Bill Weber to him, and said, "Why is this so special?" And that's when he yelled, "It's Bristol, baby!" Kind of fun. Jones shuts it down. He is currently 7th, top of the board earlier. He's taken 20 laps in that 77 car. Jamie Mack back out. A little better vision of the racetrack.
He's about mid-pack right now, about 13th. But good times. Good running. All these guys, here's the thing. You know, as we look up through here, you look back to about 12th, 13th, right along there. It's only a 10th from first to the top 12 or 13 cars are all in there.
And now sunshine, Kyle, just for a brief moment there. There is some weather in the area this weekend as we show you the playoff standings on the left. But look at that, bright sunshine. That's going to change things too, always does.
Yes, always does. And you know, it doesn't change this place as much as it doesn't seem to with the concrete and with the what's it called again? PJ1 and rosin
and rosin scraping
and scraping. And I honestly don't know how it affects that.
Yeah.
That is a question I can't answer. And obviously somebody smarter than me that's out there running around in it can tell you. But this place can be slick, especially on a hot day. It's nice. It's a little bit cooler here today than it has been in the southeast.
Relatively speaking.
Yeah, no, well, it's relative humidity.
I'm relatively sweating it out every time I walk out the door.
Here's Larson on another set of tires, obviously, back out.
Yeah, that was as good an example as we could show you of how you flat spot a set of tires.
Yeah.
They were going sideways, all in one direction, not rolling forward. And you just shave off that one portion of the tire on all four. So if you were with us a few minutes ago, got a little out of shape coming off of turn 4, spun it sideways, did not hit anything, brought out the red flag and stoppage of play for just a little while, and went back in to ask his crew, what did we do there? Let's look at what happened to Kyle just a few minutes ago.
Yeah, you see it's already in progress right there. Just a nice slow spin all the way down the front stretch. And he's back on the racetrack. It was 8 minutes after he spun. They come in, obviously check it over, make sure everything's tight, nothing's broken, nothing. And he didn't get into anything. Replace, change 4 tires, and send him back out.
What a week he had last week. Had a chance to go run the Knoxville Nationals. Then on the weekend, would have certainly been obligated to this Monster Energy Cup Series car only had he not started the nice little save there, Free Kyle campaign.
Yeah.
With his owner, Chip Ganassi, and the fans responded, and Chip responded, and they let him go back to Knoxville. Race Saturday night. Did not win the race, but made it to the A main and put on a good show, and then came out Sunday and showed his owner and the world just why he wants to do that stuff, because it gets him in a rhythm, and it took him to victory lane.
Put on another good show the last couple of laps at Michigan. Yeah, the Knoxville Nationals, huge race, and it's a huge race for this guy, for Kyle Larson. I mean, that is something. He grew up, his parents, it's funny, talking to his parents when we did the Racing Roots episode with him, it's like how many cup races you go to a year, and his parents were like, I don't know, 7, 8, 10, something like that. Well, how many dirt races you go to a year? I don't know, 50 or 60? They're just dirt fans, sprint car fans.
Yep.
And Kyle is a huge fan of the sport, huge fan of sprint car racing. And the Knoxville Nationals is that race. It's the Indy 500. It's the Daytona 500. It's all that rolled into one race. And to go there and have that opportunity to win, and he felt like he had one of the best opportunities that he's ever had going there this year, and went there and did a phenomenal job. Just came up a little short.
First look this weekend at Danica Patrick's 10 car on track. That's That paint scheme is a little unique right there, but the one that I'm kind of excited about was the one they unveiled earlier this week with Robert Yates in attendance, the one that looks like the Ford Quality Care paint scheme that she's going to run at Darlington. And a neat gesture to have Robert there, and he got some hardware, too, from that.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? They offered the Daytona 500 rings from Kurt Busch's win.
Pretty cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, as a thank you from the Ford guys and from that whole group. But that was pretty cool. And it was cool to see that paint scheme back. I didn't like that paint scheme when Dale run it because he beat everybody all the time. But it was really cool. And Dale had some good comments the other day when they unveiled it when we were doing NASCAR America.
Danica has been on the track for 17 laps now, and go back to Denny Hamlin, top of the board.
He has been fast since the first lap he went out. Pretty much set that standard right off the bat and has continued. Every time he's gone out, he's gone back to the top of the board.
Yeah, this car is probably more stable. And I don't know if, Kyle, that's more of a function of where his car is in setup or the way Denny runs short tracks, because he's so good at managing what happens with his race car on a short track.
Yeah, his car, from the time he went out, he was one of the first guys that went out to after the first few cars went out and ran the track in and set a pretty fast time. But he's been real stable getting in the corner and through the center, which allows him to point it in the direction he wants to come off. I think that's where we saw some of the original guys go out. They would go out and lose grip or lose traction getting in and couldn't get to the center of the corner. But his car has been incredibly stable. He's run as many or more laps than just about anybody out there right now.
It's like you said, when you run a lot of laps and your car is good, it feels like 5 minutes. When it's not good, it feels like 5 hours. And of course, a former winner, as well as the 31 of Ryan Newman. We'll check that. I was looking at earlier this year at Phoenix.
Newman's car doesn't look bad either. Just watching it rotate, goes in a little bit higher, especially in the 3, maybe 10 or 12 inches, a couple feet higher, and then sweeps back across the corner.
Yeah, Newman has not won here in the Monster Energy Cup Series. A couple of top 5s for him. Yet to bring his career to full circle by winning at Bristol. And really, you know, it may be one of the smallest tracks, but it's really one of the biggest races to win.
Yeah, it's huge. Ask anybody that's won here. It is a big deal to win. You know, you talked earlier about drivers saying they can hear and feel the crowd when they're out there. The car's a little free right there, but hear and feel the crowd when they're out there. When you win a race in front of that many people on that big a stage, it's a big deal.
Input to Joey Logano from his spotter. The fast guys are running planted on the bottom in 3 and 4, but they've got about a foot or two below them in 1 and 2. It's tabloid passing information along to Joey for his digestion. Do with it what he wants.
He's pretty planted on the bottom that lap. You see right there, the left front, right on that dark seam, right down on where the asphalt comes into the concrete, and then where they've spread the stuff. Just a little wiggle right there in the middle of the corner as he goes to put a little bit more steering input into it. It just steps out just a touch in 1 and 2. I know this place looks like both corners drive the same, but both corners, how you get in and how you get off these corners it's a totally different racetrack from one end to the other on what the driver feels.
saw 78 of Martin Truex Jr. step out just a little bit, Kyle. I know as you practice, there's a moment where you want to know something before you bring it in, even if you get out of shape. And then there's some moments where you're like, I know what I know.
Yeah.
Bring it right in, right?
Yeah.
You make that decision.
You make that decision when you go out there. We're watching Boyer come in. What'd you say? He runs second here in April, which is good. And he's 31 points out, so obviously this has been a good place for him. But yeah, there's, you go out and run. If something's wrong, you know it instantly, and you don't even make a lap. You just come back in. See, Matt, we're going to be watching these guys this weekend. Matt, Clint Boyer, we talk about those guys. And so much hinges on every one of these races. For Matt, Boyer, Joey Logano, Daniel Suarez, Eric Jones, those guys. I mean, Matt last week, from the bubble standpoint, was really in a good place when they dropped the green flag on that last on that last restart. Ends up going from third or fourth back to 20-something and just gave all those points back, which was a gift and kept Clint Boyer and some of those guys in contention, to be honest with you, because that could have been a devastating day points-wise for all those guys back there.
You want to go to the Wayback Machine?
Let's go.
How about 2013? A big weekend for Matt Kenseth here at the Bristol Motor Speedway. This is what it looked like. Challenged by Casey Kane, but emerged victorious. Hoping for some of the same this weekend for Matt. That was his fourth win at the track. So this has certainly been a place where he can get it done and needs to this weekend. Richmond also very good for Matt. Darlington maybe a little bit more of a question mark, and a big question mark right there for A.J. Allmendinger.
Big wiggle going in the corner. And look, if you're a young driver and you're watching practice, that's what you do. When it's that bad, you come in. It's not going to heal itself. It's not going to get better. He turned in the corner. It got away from him. He chases up the racetrack and just says, that's it. I give. Let's go in and work on it and make another adjustment for this. I think here's a team that added a car with Chris Buescher this year that's really not – I don't think AJ has run a lot of times as well as they ran last year, as that team ran last year. Chris Buescher is coming off a great run last week at Michigan. So good run for him, but I think the team as a whole with the 37 of Chris Buescher and the 47 of AJ, they've almost taken a little bit of a step back this year as performance-wise.
Do you believe that's because just a lot more plate spinning for the group?
You know what? Sometimes when you add, it takes a while to get into that rhythm, and I think this team has tons of potential to be competitive with both cars. But I think it just takes time to understand what 2 is compared to 1, and how your focus is spread out a little bit. Jimmy's car steps out a little bit there on the right, in between 1 and 2. 1 and 2 seems to be where these guys, even though we saw Kyle Larson spin coming out of turn 4, 1 and 2 seems to be where these guys are struggling to get that grip as they get into the corner and to roll through the center.
Kyle Busch on the left, 5 wins at this track. And we mentioned already going for the triple this weekend. Wednesday won the truck race. Tonight trying to win the Xfinity race. And then tomorrow night going for 3. Only been done 1 time. It was back in 2010 by Kyle. Just like that, let's show you. Midweek, the trucks. Kyle in victory lane. End of the week, Xfinity. Kyle in victory lane. And then the big show, best smelling race car on the track, and Kyle doing the bow and in victory lane again.
I think it said double mint. Maybe it should have said triple mint.
Yeah, see, there you go.
That would have been good.
I like where you're going with this. There's at least 3 colors of M&Ms on it this weekend, that's for sure. Caramel, I'll take it. Did you get your yogurt yet, by the way?
No, I have not. I'm not. You're blocking the door. You won't let me out of this place.
You know, there's a Hall of Famer in the room with us here. You could probably slip out for a minute.
Nope.
No, DJ saying no?
We are not forcing DJ
shaking his head, okay.
On air.
No, he's... Oh, he said he'd run yogurt for you, though. That's a good man right there.
That's a good one.
I appreciate Dale.
Look how smooth Denny's car. You talked about it a minute ago, but look now. See, Denny is, and we heard the reports from the 22 spotter that the guys that were really fast were running right on the bottom through 3 and 4. Denny was up about a half a lane. Denny's still at the top of the list, so I have to say that report may not be all it was cracked up to be, because Denny has run almost every lap about a foot or so off the bottom.
There's always one you missed, right?
Always one. Always one. And most of the time, it's the guy that's the fastest.
You know what, though? That is one of the most pressure-filled parts of being a spotter in this sport, because you're supposed to be collecting information on all 39 other cars, right, for your guy, and watching 4 corners of the racetrack and 2 straightaways for your guy.
And your guy.
It's not an easy job.
Watching all 4 corners and your guy and everybody else all at the same time. It is not an easy job. You know, there are guys that can do it, and there's guys that can't. And, you know, there's guys that do it incredibly well. And those guys that we talk about being 40 cup drivers and 40 guys that have won races, there's 40 spotters up there that have helped these guys win races and could win races with just about any driver. They're so good at it.
I had the privilege of doing it one time for a driver in the ASA series, the late Tony Roper, and that was at the Minnesota State Fair. I was never more nervous.
You spotted?
I did.
Yeah.
I did, but his day was in my hands, and freaked me out. That red flag is for a bit of weather. We mentioned there's some in the area. So for the moment, while the red is displayed, we will stop down and start flapping our jaws again when the cars take to the track. And Kyle, you know what this means for you.
I can go get yogurt?
Go get some yogurt.
Thank you.
See ya. We'll be back.
top 5, 7 top 10s, and he's captured them all. So if you look at success, you can look at the 22 ride. He is right now, again, not where he wants to be on the practice ride. He's currently 30th fastest, but now I'm sure they'll tweak that down to the Penske garage and get that figured out. But Logano coming in with a lot of success. 17 starts, 2 wins, 4 top 5, 7 top 10 out of 17 starts in the pole. That equates to success in my book. So another gentleman can keep an eye on tomorrow night. 2-time winner at this track, Joey Logano.
It looks like his teammate Brad Keselowski going over there going to maybe share an idea or two. We'll talk about the playoff situation right now and the Monster Energy point standings. Drivers who have clinched, there are 13 of them. Mark Truex, Kyle Larson, Jimmy Johnson, Brad Keselowski, Kyle Busch, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Kevin Harvick, Ryan Blaney, Denny Hamlin, Kurt Busch, Ryan Newman, Casey Kane, and Austin Dillon have clinched. They all have wins here in the 2017 season. They are in the playoffs. The 3 who are in doubt right now, Chase Elliott currently.
Characteristic of this group and this organization right now.
So yes, if we're looking for indicators for Joey Logano that this weekend is trending in the right direction, we haven't seen it yet.
We have not seen it yet. And look, he's run, this is his 29th lap. We talked earlier, Jimmy Johnson, Dale Jr., a lot of guys out there have run 40-plus laps, so obviously they feel like their car is somewhere close. This appears to be a group that's coming in and out, changing stuff, trying to get better, and they're just not making a lot of progress in it. Again, this is their race stuff. This is not our qualifying stuff or that. And his car does not look bad. It just doesn't seem to have the speed in it right now.
His teammate quite a bit better, as you mentioned, 17th quickest in his in a single lap check, and he's running 1573s. That's about 4/10 off of Denny Hamlin's quick lap of 1531. It seems like a lot, but that is true, isn't it? Am I reading that right? Well, that was the last time. I'm looking at fast time. Denny's fast time is a 1484.
Yeah.
And Brad's fast time is a 15 flat, so a little less than that. Like under 2/10.
Yeah, close. Close to 2/10.
Keselowski.
That's Burton knocking on the door. Burton is here, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, and now he's going.
Now he slams the door.
See, just that quickly, you can scare him off.
Wow.
Rick Allen has joined us in here, watching feverishly. Make the call later today for final practice, I think.
It's good to have Rick Allen back in America.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. All the track and field championships over in London.
Yes.
Very
pretty
good,
cool watching that.
Good racing, good call. Really fun watching that. And he has a little bit of an accent, though.
Yeah, he's just a touch of one.
And asked for tea and crumpets, I believe, later in the afternoon.
We're waiting on someone to bring it in on a platter right now.
With your yogurt. Sorry, you were going to say something. You were pointing, and
No, I was just going to ask Rick if when they do track and field, do they televise all the practice for track and field?
Oh, you got a hearty guffaw out of the background.
Just checking. Just checking.
You know what I found interesting, though, yesterday on NASCAR America was the discussion between Parker Kligerman and Otto Bolden about sprinting. And
wait a minute. Why was Parker even talking about sprinting?
Will you let me finish?
Okay.
There's a whole story here.
I'm just shut down right there.
This is not like a pit road report where I only have 20 seconds. I get a minute here.
Okay, go.
All right, so they're talking about pit road and how the athletes on pit road that go over the wall to service the cars are down for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, just waiting, and then boom, they've got to go into action and do their job. And Otto was saying just how similar that is to kind of what track and field stars have.
Yeah.
And they have all that waiting time while the other events are going on, and then when the time comes, that special something inside of them, they bring to the front and go for it. And it's kind of cool. It's an interesting discussion.
Again, why was Parker having that conversation?
Because
he's not a guy that goes over the wall. He's not a sprinter. He's not. I mean, I don't know where you went with that. You didn't connect the dots.
Thought I could.
You know how we're supposed to close the loop. That loop's still open. It looks like a horseshoe to me.
But it was good storytelling.
Yeah, it was good
A
storytelling.
horseshoe. Left a little open there.
Just open-ended there. That was okay.
Unlike the Bristol Motor Speedway, which is totally a closed circle.
For sure.
What the place look like when you first started coming here? Would you remember?
You know what? No. Well, and Dale's sitting over here behind us. Okay, when I came here, evidently it was flat at one point in time, in the 60s. But it was already banked when I remember it. But right here was a crossover gate, and there were grandstands on the back stretch and grandstands on the front stretch, and that was about it. And they were concrete and not very level. The grandstands on the back stretch were pretty fantastic. To be totally honest with you, if you put a level on, you could roll a basketball from one end of the grandstands to the other end. It would just continue to roll. But there was a crossover gate and all the teams, you parked outside of 1 and 2 down here on this end of the racetrack where we see Clint Boyer right now. The trucks were parked outside, and you would drive the race cars up over through the gate down into the infield, and you carried just enough stuff to work on your cars. And if you didn't have the right springs, if you didn't have the right shocks, if you didn't have the right sway bars and stuff, during a caution, or if a guy was at the other end of the racetrack, you could run up the bank, jump over the wall, and run down to your truck and get the springs, and then wait until there was a gap in the racing or practice to come back in. And it was pretty spectacular. One time, true story.
That was the current crossover game.
Yeah, that's the current
Different
one.
location.
Okay, one time, true story.
Yep.
Dick Brooks drove Junie Dunleavy's car here. Didn't put a scratch on it all night long. And they had a pickup with a trailer, and they were hauling it out of the racetrack. They just had a flatbed, and the car came off the trailer and hit the inside wall and all but totaled the car leaving the racetrack. That was one of the few times they were, instead of driving it out, they were hauling it out on a flatbed trailer, and it came off.
I was going to ask you how often that went bad. With pit carts and everything else that you tried to get across.
Yeah, pit carts were terrible. Yeah, toolboxes, pit carts.
Yeah.
You'd lose your footing and roll back down. But this was a crazy place, man, back then. 1969, the track was reconfigured from 22 degrees to 36. What is it right now? 28, 27? Because that way they've got that progressive, right? So what is it?
Checking with our statistician.
Yes, we are right now.
Jimmy sitting next to us here.
Jimmy says it is 24 to 28. So it's been all over the board.
No, it really has. And it's funny, the reconstruction, I don't remember that in my memory. I don't remember the transition. Of course, I don't remember the early days because I was just a wee one.
Yes.
But I don't remember that whole process. But just think of the work involved to make this what it is today.
Yeah.
I mean, it's spectacular today. And you just think about all the construction, the tear down, and the redo.
To build it into the stadium that it is, Bruton Smith and SMI, those guys have done a tremendous job. Larry Carrier running the racetrack now, and I mean, it's crazy how nice this facility is and how special it is for fans when you come here. There's not a bad seat in the house. Not a bad seat in the house. You can see the racetrack and you see what's going on. It is crazy. Even though you feel like you're looking down into a cereal bowl watching these guys run. You can see the different angles of the grandstands and stuff as they've added. The front stretch here you saw coming out of turn 4 there. They added down on 1 and 2 kind of first, I think. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Great place. Jerry Caldwell, the president of the track now, does a good job of maintaining and getting people to continue to have this on their bucket list of tracks they have to go to before they're done going to, which they shouldn't be ever, but it's always on their list of tracks to go to. A must-do.
If you're going to a cup race, it's a must-do at some point in time, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of Jerry, if you were with us earlier, you heard us mention Dale Jr. giving a couple of nice honors this weekend the unveiling of the It's Bristol Baby photo opportunity sign outside the track, so fans can get their selfies made with that in the background. And then also the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Scholarship. This track is located in Sullivan County, and this is an opportunity for a high school student with an interest in automotive technology, well, maybe on how to make a car grip, with a chance to get themselves a little bit of funding to go on and further their education, as we see Junior now taking it back to the garage. And those are fun things. You know, everyone wants to say thank you to Dale before the end of this season, even though he's still going to be around. But they're trying to do unique things, and I think in a lot of cases, as Junior commented after the scholarship announcement, to pay it forward and do something for someone else means as much to him as any of the gifts he's received.
Yeah. Where do you get somebody like Junior?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That honestly. And it's a nice gesture from a lot of tracks. But like we said earlier, and like you just said, to pay it forward, to use this opportunity that Junior has and that the racetrack has to honor him, but to give that to someone else. And Junior's just the pass-through. He's just the vehicle that facilitates that.
Looking at the back window of Junior's car, I love what our colleague at ESPN, Bob Pockris, tweeted out yesterday, noting that on the back window you're supposed to have your last name.
Junior's not his last name?
His says Dale Jr., and Bob said, somehow I think they'll be okay with
that one will be all right.
That was fun.
That one will be all right.
Yep. And there it is, the man known as Junior. It's going to be fun working with him next year, that's for sure.
You think he'll do any app shows?
I was just going to say, he might sit in the background here and fling some stories and some ideas here with us.
Make myself laugh. I make myself laugh. I'm sorry.
A couple of winces in the truck while you spoke.
Whoa! Bring her back down, Kyle.
So we're seeing the practice winding down. 14 minutes, just under 15 left to go. Trying the high line.
He's not up there. He's just up there running it in already, which is, you know, and we've seen Kyle Larson do this in numerous places. He won't. Obviously, he goes up there and runs it in for other people sometimes. You know what I mean? But he wants more cars to come up there. You see Suarez on the inside here. This is more like the stuff
hang on, Daniel.
Yeah.
But to your point, he's being proactive as well as reactive. He wants to know what it's doing, but he also wants to clear some of the marbles and put some rubber down, right?
Yeah. He wants to put down some rubber. That is the main thing for him right now, is just to see how much grip is there, to see what it is. That last lap was not very fast, but I think Daniel scared him a little bit when he saw him down under. But I mean, look, he's running 1570s, 1560s a couple laps ago, which are not bad lap times at this point in time. Not bad lap times on these tires. He's got 53 laps on the set of tires, 1588 right there. It has come in a little bit for race conditions. We're not going to see him up there qualifying. And you see, that's what we see in the race. You see that run up off the corner and what that run can do to stay ahead of the 32 of Di Benedetto right there.
You see how this plays out. Larson's the 16th fastest car. Di Benedetto, the 32nd fastest car. And as Kyle's line is not yet there, Matt has that coming together in the corners with him. Let's see if we can get another look at that save by Daniel Suarez just a moment ago when Kyle Larson was trying that high line. This is in turns 1 and 2. There goes Daniel down to the bottom of the 19. Whoa.
Yeah.
Lack of grip.
Total lack of grip. I'm going to tell you, he's just running it in at this point in time. How much time is left in this practice?
12 minutes, just over 12 and a half.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So he's just running this in right now. You've got that many laps on that set of tires. He's already on his second set of tires because he spun once, and just using this set of tires up.
Led over 200 laps here in April after starting first. Remember, it was rained out in qualifying. He was the championship leader at that point. Ended up the day 6th. I'd like to see Victory Lane tomorrow night. Wouldn't they all? Flash bulbs popping, fans cheering, and of course, a chance to thank them on the start-finish line. How fun has that been this year?
That has been really cool. Watching the interviews there has been really cool. I'm watching as what you're watching. What's going on the screen? I'm just watching the time chart here that we have. Honestly, some of these guys, as you see, that's a great lap by Hamlin that's out there right now. It just run a 15:27. But Larson is within a couple of tenths of a lot of these guys that are running that low line right now that have gone back out. As we look at a Kyle Busch at a 15:44. And some of these guys, Boyer, Kenseth at a 15:40. And he's running 60s and 70s right now, or has been.
Now, you mentioned Denny, quick lap. He's got the quickest single lap, but in your averages, his teammates, Kyle Busch and Matt Kenseth, have the fastest 5-lap averages. And in terms of 10-lap averages, Jamie McMurray is still the best of them, with Hamlin second. And then Suarez, even the bobble earlier we showed, is a good race car.
Yeah, but and one that sticks out to me is 5-lap Jimmy Johnson is 4th, 10-lap Jimmy Johnson is 5th, and 15 laps, which means he's run that at one point in time. He is 2nd, and then for more laps, the most laps, he's run 62 laps. Jimmy has this morning.
Ryan Blaney getting his short track program more developed as it goes along. He's never had a top 10 or led a lap on a short track, so as well as he's running here, 4th quickest single lap time, could lead to something new.
Yeah, something new. And listening to him this morning on the radio a little bit, I think he was excited about coming here. Felt like that they could come here and make something happen. He just wants to come out of here in one piece. But at the same time, I don't think any driver goes to the racetrack, ooh, that thing stepped out. I don't think anybody driver goes to the racetrack and says, hey, I just don't want to wreck. And he wants to come here. He's in that hunt. He brings it up in almost every conversation to get that 100th win for the Wood brothers while he's there.
So just under 5 minutes, opening practice for the Monster Energy Series. A brief hold for weather midway through. But for the most part, it has been clean, mostly clean, and mostly green.
Mostly clean, mostly green. We saw Landon Castle up on the high side there. We've seen 3 or 4 more cars since Larson went up and cleaned everything off. Have at least gone up there. We even saw Blaney that one time going into turn 3 over here, run the middle or high line on the racetrack. So once that kind of opened up for some of these guys, or they felt like it was okay to go up there and run, and they weren't going to get in trouble, or weren't going to jump out from under them, we've seen other guys go up to put down some rubber, and that's what Larson wanted.
I want to see telemetry again, Kyle, because I was just thinking we haven't talked about that today, and how they are on the gas hard and then on the brake hard, and when they're off and on nothing and rolling.
Yeah. And you see the brake. It's all before you get to the center of the corner right now. It's right. He taps it on off right there. Before he even gets to the center. It's in the lights. I wish we had the lights that were overlapped, because a lot of times it's almost like you're dragging the brake and you're on the gas at the same time and using the brake to steer the car.
You can see up to is pretty close to 140 mile an hour going into the turn, and the RPMs up and down, up as high as 8,600, I believe we saw.
This car really gets into turn 1 well. It looks like, because he gets set before he ever gets to the corner, his car looks like it takes a good set, and he accelerates off. Where these other guys, like we saw Daniel and those guys, get loose right there, right as the car sets itself getting in.
Even though he's quickest, they were working on his race car. He was banging the splitter last run, so they came in, made a little change, and he felt like they'd just gone too far on one of their adjustments, and that's what practice is about.
Yeah.
It's how far can you take it? Did you take me over the edge the other way? Where's the perfection?
And that's the thing. You make adjustments, you ease into it, and then you go too far, or you feel like you've not gone far enough. You see Jamie McMurray up, Kyle Larson's teammate, has gone up to the high side to try some laps to see what it's like. AJ in front of him goes up. and had just passed the one car of Jamie McMurray. Jimmy Johnson's still on the bottom making some laps. And you can see it darkening in 3 and 4. You see that top groove, and you see it right there. Right now we've got 2 lanes, a really dark lane on the bottom, a really white lane in the middle, and right here you see the rubber being laid down, coming up off the corner with the right side tires.
He's on a long run right now. He's been over 35 laps here. And even though his spotter told him it really wasn't quick up there, he went up there and tried it anyway. I know he just wants to get a feel for where it stands right now. So just over a minute remaining in opening practice. McMurray's lap total up to 74 next time by. That is among the most that anyone has run. It may be the most as I scan our technology here real quick. It's a good amount, and as we mentioned, this run, a large portion of that. Jamie's time still quickest in a 10-lap average, ahead of Hamlin, Suarez, Larson, and Johnson, and has the 13th quickest single lap time of all this afternoon. 41 cars have taken time. 40 will set the field in qualifying later today, so someone will have to go home. Won't be this guy. McMurray looking strong. Practice coming to an end here. We're so thankful you could join us here on the app this morning. Kyle got yogurt, a visit from a Hall of Famer, and a Londoner.
Everybody come by and said hello. Nobody wanted to be on air, though.
And folks, in case you missed it earlier, Kyle started the broadcast with the helmet on, took it off during the broadcast, and now maybe going back on. You going to go take a little ride?
Yeah, probably put it on and go to sleep.
That's a good idea. Cowboys sleep in their boots. Kyle Petty sleeps in his helmet. Thanks for joining us here on the NBC Sports app, and we'll see you a little bit later this afternoon. We'll show you that whole schedule on NBCSN so you get an idea of when to tune in next. That'll be 12:30 for final practice for the Monster Energy Series from the Bristol Motor Speedway. For Kelly, KP, I'm Dave Burns. Thanks. We'll see you soon.